Everybody, welcome to Rowan Connect Weekend, and thank you for joining us today with Conversations with Chloe. I'm Chloe. I'll let you all join in because I'm sure a few people are still trying to join, so we won't get into conversation just yet. We'll let you have some time to all join us live. Thank you all for joining us live, and if you're not joining us live and you're watching recorded, hello everybody. So yeah, today is another Conversations with Chloe. So I've previously been joined by Rowan designers like Martin and George and Galina. And today with me, I have Brandon Mably. So thank you for joining me today.
Wow, what a treat. I cannot believe that we're wearing the same color. I mean, it's just, I mean, you look so huggable in that yarn. What yarn is it?
I'm quite warm, I'm not going to lie. This is one of George's designs, and it's a fine lace and kid silk haze held together, and it is just a
Yeah,
delightful
well,
one.
that kid, the thing is about the kid silk haze, it is so incredibly warm. Yeah, I mean, you even just need it as a single strand and wear it. You don't need to wear anything underneath it. It's extra. It just blows me away how warm that yarn is. But I must say, you look like a glowing golden delicious apple. So lovely. And the weird thing is, I'm sitting here and I've got a window beside me, and the window is all full of green leaves, and the light is coming through the green leaves, so the leaves look luminous. So it's like green, green, green. Anyway, here we go.
Green everywhere. I think it's the best color in my opinion. And what are you wearing today?
So Keith has just launched a brand new book with Rowan, showing off his latest kid silk haze yarns. And there was a design in the book that that was on a female model, and I said to David McLeod, David, I want a sweater in that design. I just felt it was so powerful. Plus, checkerboards are really the in thing at the moment. So this is two of Cave's shades, the apple green, and this is a beautiful purple, which is in the range. And it was just to highlight those yarns. And it's a felted tweed. So I'm just being an advert, a model, and I'm very happy with it. So
It looks great on you.
this will be my number one garment for the year, I think. And if anybody wants a pattern to knit up for him or her, or her and him, then they need to get hold of one of these magazines, and it's just come out through Rowan. I think it's just come out, hasn't it? It is on.
It is now,
Right.
yeah, it's available in retailers at the moment. And
Okay.
yeah, beautiful shades, new shades curated by
Okay.
Kaif
Yeah.
in Felted Tweed and Kid Silk Haze.
Yeah.
Really, really amazing colours.
Yeah.
And yeah, fantastic patterns with garments and accessories in. So definitely take a look at Kaif's palettes. Really good. So thank you for joining today. If
Uh,
anyone has questions themselves, please put it in the chat and we'll work on them.
so I'm just intrigued. The Rowan Connect goes out to whom, and how many? Do you have any idea how many people might be tuning in from where? Who we're speaking to?
So we can't see anything. So unfortunately, for everyone watching, you can see us, but we can't see you. So Kerry might be able to let us know how many people are joining us today, because usually it's quite like 100 people or so. So it's a nice big crowd. And
Very
tuning
good.
in from all over the world, definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely anybody that tuning in, I'm absolutely charmed. And if they have any questions other than on here, they can always catch me on social media and drop me a message, and I'll see if I can answer. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, everyone let us know where you're joining us from. It'll be really nice to know. So I think we're going to start today kind of starting back at the beginning where you started, even before you joined Rowan, because you didn't start with knitwear, did you? Did you start in sort of
No,
crochet?
no. I am. So I was brought up in a small seaside town in Wales, and I had this. I had two desires: one to do work in the creative industry, but two also to work with people. And I didn't do very well in school because I had a level of dyslexia and attention disorder, I suppose. And so my teacher always saying, Brandon could do better. Brandon could do better. Brandon could be. It sounded like a rap song. Anyway, I because I didn't do too well in school, I went off to culinary school, and I trained in culinary school. Then went off to London, then America, came back, and then I got a fluke job as the cook to the ambassador in Greece,
Oh, wow.
which I was for a period. Ran a restaurant and there after there, and then quit there. Came back to London. It'll be in my book one day. I was sure I'll write it down. But anyway, came back from there, and I was at a bus stop in London waiting. I was working for a catering agency, and whenever a chef would go off ill, I'd go fill that position. And I was at a bus stop, and there was this other guy standing there. He was in a long black coat, and just got speaking to him, and he turned out to be American, and I'd just come back from America. And of course, curiosity killed the cat. Where are you from? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, he was an author and an artist. And of course, I started asking questions into about what kind of artwork do you do. So he said his studio was a couple of blocks away from where this bus stop was. And when I'm passing by, just look up in the window. He said he didn't have any curtains, and he's working on a tapestry, which was going to be on the cover of a book he was going to be doing, which was called Glorious Inspirations. And of course, as I was going by the house, I thought, to hell with that, I'm not going to look through the window. I'll ring the doorbell. And my human nature is to tidy up and to cook. Of course, that wins you brownie points. And so the place was a mess, and everything was out and just a creative mess. And because my human nature was just to do it naturally, to tidy up, it won me brownie points, and I started going around on my days off. Anyway, I went home to see my mom in that period, and I said, "Oh, Mom, have you ever heard of this guy called Kaif Fassett?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, because I knit now and again." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm hanging out at the studio. He's a new friend of mine." And she's like, "Brandon, I hope you're not making a nuisance of yourself." Typical moms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after about 3 months, I taught my way into a job at the studio. And I mean, I'm cutting all this very short, and then fast forwarding from there. And then Kate taught me how to knit and needlepoint, and just encouraged me to find my own voice and learn by my mistakes. And then from there, I did a knit design called Great Plains, where it was basically an intarsia design, but you did rows of wide rows of lighter color, dark color, and I looked at an Indian basket weave, and it was like a zigzag, and so the darker colors were on one side, and the lighter colors were on the other side, but it was in wide bands of pastel and earthy tones. So Dave showed that swatch to Stephen Sheard, who was the founder of Rowan, and Steve said, "We'll publish this, but we'll publish it under Kaif Fassett Studio." So I was the studio in the first days, and Kaif was Kaif because, of course, he was going under his own name. And then that's how that all happened. And I think that must have been, I want to say about 1994, 1995. Yeah, and then it all started going on from there. And then I took over the teaching side of the knit workshops because it's something I really love doing. Yeah, and on the helium, there's no stop me from there, because now I with Kate dipping and diving into so many different worlds, working with putting together color arrangements in any medium we can. Give us an opportunity and we'll take it. We kind of find it hard to say no to any invitation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do you find similarities between knitting and cooking? Because I think I love to cook too, and I think a lot of people probably watching are like cooks, bakers, gardeners. They all kind of link, don't they?
I absolutely, and I love gardening too. So yeah, very very much so. For me, colors are like flavors. or it's as I say, when you think about or if you're going to have a gin and tonic is boring without that lime, but you don't want that lime to take over.
Hmm.
So when you're putting it together, a palette of color, like the orange on the brim of my hat, it's like a little bit of ginger that goes into the carrot soup. It just wakes up the flavors. Or if or when you're making a fruit salad and you just grate in a bit of ginger, that just give it a little bit of. So I'm glad you picked that up because yes, I use food very often as um, an explanation too for people. It's like, I also say it's like when you put on lipstick, you don't cover the whole face, but
Mm.
you put on lipstick and it just opens up.
Highlights and yeah,
Yeah, but it's
absolutely.
very, very, very important. But to me, I don't knit to knit. I couldn't knit a one color sweater. For me, that would be like swimming through a cold bowl of porridge naked. It's not going to happen. I love swimming and I love cold water, but no, no, my attention span this long, and I need,
Yeah.
and I'm an artist. I don't like to really give myself a title, but to me, it's all about the color and the color work, and that's the same voice for Cave too.
Hmm.
What about you? What tickles your fancy? I'm sure it's the quality of the yarn too.
Yeah, it's the creating, it is the process because when I don't know, I was always loved dressmaking growing up. But then when I learned to knit, the idea of creating the fabric as well as designing, cutting out the pieces or whatever, it was just creating that thing from scratch, really. Like gardening, like cooking. I just love doing things with my hands, and that's what I love
Oh, great!
creating.
And do you still sew?
Yeah, actually, I just
Oh,
made
great.
myself, I not as much as I would love to.
Yeah.
I did just sew a skirt the other weekend, which I keep getting compliments for, so it's given me the motivation to do more, make more clothes at home.
How great! How great! It's a real sense of a couple of compliments too. But I'm very impatient because I'll give birth to an idea and I want to move on to the next one very quickly. I get not bored, but I've
Mm,
visualized the creative side. Now, bang! I'm ready to go on to the next one because I've got this other thing going on in my head that needs to be
yeah.
given attention or fruition. Because the other thing is when I'm working designing, I'm usually working on about five things at once. So pinning up your work, standing back, and then getting some breathing space and going on from there. But one of the annoying things about this side also is, but I also because I have the luxury of designing for Rowan, is I'm able to give birth to the artwork, and then you guys give fruition to the technical side, which is
Mm.
needed on the other side. That's the least interesting part to me. I've got one of these moms that the back has to look as good as the front, and
Yeah.
I'm like, get a life. I don't wear my sweater inside out, you know. Whereas she would wear her sweater inside out just to please herself. You know what I mean? No,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think there are a lot of perfectionists when it comes to knitting, isn't there?
yeah, yeah. And for me, the energy needs to go on what's on the front and
Mm.
what's on the inside. Give them something to look at, and if they do look at the inside, just say to them, "I did it to annoy you."
Love
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So you someone who has multiple projects on the go.
Yeah, because I swing in the sense of I go from needlepoint to knitting to patchwork, and I love to take an idea from one medium to another medium to another medium. That's the same design theme, but you're also seeing it come through in different scales, and it just has a different texture, and that's very exciting to see. Of course, so also when we have exhibitions like the last exhibition we had in at T and T in Chicago. We
Mm.
took Kate's collection of flower knits, and they were Kate did a book on
Yeah, save it with flowers.
say it
Yeah.
with flowers, and we had those garments hanging with all our flower quilts, our quilts that had flowers involved in the patchwork fabrics. And the relationship between those two quilts was really, really good. So we're hoping to continue that kind of crossover because it will be out at H&H next May. So anybody that's listening, they might want to just check this out because it's going to be open the first, I think it's the third week in May is going to be open to the public. And then the next week it's going to be open to the wholesale. But the first week is all retail. And if anybody hasn't been before, it has a real vibe because it's encompassing all needle crafts as well as patchwork. And it's at the Rosemont Convention Center near Chicago O'Hare Airport. So it's quite easy for a day trip if you're in the US or Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Yeah, remember for next May. Quite a
Yeah.
while.
I mean, Rowan had a big representation there. David McLeod was there, and fabulous Trish Malcolm from Expo Knitting Magazine. Yeah, it was great. It was a real buzz.
Yeah, and you said you love teaching and workshops and these sort of events. What do you love about teaching and things?
I just love it. Um, I like to call the classes in general color confidence building workshops.
Mm.
So anybody listening, get your pen and paper out and write this down, okay? All mistakes leave room for opportunity. That's very good. All mistakes leave room for opportunity. So the principle of our workshops is to get people to try, leave themselves open to the unexpected, and make it work.
Mm.
So a lot of people want to even put one foot forward before they go any further. A wonderful story or example was we had a client and she had to make a garment finished for her son's wedding, and she got up to about this ears high in the chest, and she just lost faith. She ripped it out 12 times. The weather's looming, the wedding's looming, and she's like, to hell with it. Just gotta get it finished. This is my outfit. I'm doing it. And she carried on and knitted it up into the midnight. And then next morning she got up and she put it up to her body and looked in the mirror, and she realized all 12 times it would have been fine. It's just she couldn't allow herself to go that little bit further.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you have to take heed and don't judge. Plus, I'm jumping ahead again a bit with the question, but it's also one of the things we don't allow ourselves to do is stand back from our work. And we have to
Mm.
remember when we're designing, one of the biggest secrets that we give out is you have to pin up your work and stand back, because when you're designing, it's always going to be seen from a distance. Well, our work. I mean, if you're doing cables or something or one color, seed stitch or something, that's different. But if you want to look like a loaf of wholemeal bread, sorry, I'm just digging at the beige people at the moment. Yeah, if you're doing a pattern sweater, you got to think about what that's going to be looking like when it's walking down the street or across the living room. And so, yeah. So what I love from teaching is encouraging people to have a go, because what Keith gave me from the very beginning was everything that I didn't get when I was in school. I was in school, it was always, no, Brandon, sit down, Brandon, don't do that, Brandon. And I wasn't able to allow to find myself as I was, at my own footage, whereas Keith was saying, have a go, just have a go. And don't rip out, just move on. And quite often, what you'll put here, you might not like if this is your swatch, but if you don't like it here, repeat it up here. It might become the best thing in there. You don't realize it might become that lipstick that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And all those. There's so many little things. Plus, I learn from the students as much they gain from my encouragement, because they're doing a color relationship that I might not be in the mood for at that moment, because your colors change, your mood changes all the time.
Mm.
Um, do you teach?
I do teach on Rowan Connect quite a bit. Yeah, I do color work and intarsia a lot of the time, and I do absolutely love it for the same
And
reasons. Yeah.
and do you give classes with the right hand and the left hand?
I can't do left hand, unfortunately. Do you know, I learnt to knit watching videos of Kaif.
Ah,
Like the way
right,
I do it is how Kaif does it with
yeah.
flicking,
Well, he
because
flicks
I
his finger.
find it
I know.
quicker.
Every time I'm watching Tom Daly knitting, he's like
Yeah,
driving a canal boat, and I'm like, use your finger, use your finger.
I
Anyway,
know.
I keep on sending a message on social media. It's, for those who wondering who I'm talking about, it's an athlete in the UK who's become a bit of a celebrity knitter called Tom Daly, and
Yes.
he's fantastic what he's doing for the industry in the sense of he's making knitting become very unisex, not a female thing. Anyway, but he knits while he takes his hand off the needle, and for me, it's you just flick your
Yeah,
finger
just a
over and
little flick.
flick. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, and if you're listening, you think, what are they talking about? Have a look online, and maybe you'll see. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. But I
So
think the
yeah,
beauty of teaching is that there's no right or wrong way of knitting, because there's
no,
so many different ways to hold your knitting. There's so many ways to do different things, and
and
accidents make beautiful things. And yeah.
yeah, and everybody has their own way of holding their tension, and they're holding the needle. So you have to just get them to relax and the
Yeah.
shoulders drop down. Do you work on pins or circulars? Circular needles.
I nowadays find quite comfortable doing circular just because I hit things when I'm
But
doing straight pins.
don't you find there's a different tension on your hand, whereas
Yeah,
when you're
totally.
on pins, the
Mm,
tension is here a lot more. So a lot of people say I get RSI or don't you get pains in the needles? I often think if you move over to using circular needles, you're not
yeah.
circular needles doesn't mean you're knitting in the round. You're
Mm,
going one way and then back. You're knitting and purling or so yeah. Anybody listening, try a circular needle.
yeah, it's
As
really
Elizabeth,
comfortable.
Elizabeth Zimmerman said to Cave, wrote to Cave. Elizabeth Zimmerman was an old-fashioned knitter, and she went to the US when Cave came to England. It was like they were two bookends going different ways. And she wrote to Cave from America, and she said, "Buy yourself a pair of circular needles. They will change your life." And they did. So you won't see either of us working on pins unless we're trying to be witches on a broomstick. But anyway, yeah. It's also it affects my tension when I'm on a pins. If I'm on circle needles, it's and the knitting just falls into your lap
Mm,
quite nicely. So
yeah, it does change your tension. It is really fascinating how little things can tweak knitting so much, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
So, tell us about your creative process. So, what inspires you? How do you start a design? Where are your beginnings?
You know, okay. Here's one. I'll show you a garment. So I did a book called Brilliant Knits, and I was just looking at old craggy stone walls down in Brighton on the south coast and um, Hove. You have these walls made up of flint stones, which are like broken
Mm,
stones, which and they have craggy edges. So I took that structure, and because I don't like straight lines, even though I'm wearing a grid at the moment, I like things to have a bit of movement. So I came up with a design called Old Tiles, and this was a design where I just took units of color, and I'll bring it a bit closer so you can see.
it's amazing.
And this was called Old Tiles, and this was on the cover of my book, Brilliant Knits. It was one for Rowan, and then I've done three different colorways of that for Rowan through the ages. I did a grey colorway, and then I did a hot red, no, deep red colorway, which will look beautiful on you, by the way, Chloe. It's kind of in shades of claret and old summer berry
Lovely.
red, and oh, you just want to dive into it. It's so yummy. Um, so that one's called Old Tars, and that was so my mind is, I've got a very simple mind in the sense of I'm not mathematical in any sense, whereas there is a lot of math in knitting. I like things to have rhythm and rhyme and movements of colors, units and areas that kind of bounce off one another, that kind of repeat and have a repetition, but it's not also that it's not predictable. So I want it to kind of play. And then I also did one of my favorite garments is a one in was it in Brilliant Knits? Yeah, it was in Brilliant Knits, and I had a very low budget for putting the book together, and I didn't have a model that was kind of a medium age model, and so I asked my mom to model the garment for me, and it was just perfect. So every time I see the garment, that picture, I get a little bit soft inside because it's very touching. But this is the garment she was wearing, and it was one called Game Board.
Yeah, we're actually doing a project in at Rowan at the moment, and I've been flicking back for archive designs, and I know the magazine you're talking about.
Yeah,
I saw it for the first time this week, and I saw that it was your sister
yeah,
and your mum in the pictures, and I thought it was
yeah.
amazing.
That's my beautiful mom, and also this is actually one of my favorite shapes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a kimono shape, so the garment actually, and my mom was quite small, so it actually has a nice drape, even on a
Mhm.
smaller frame. Whereas
Yeah.
those have a bit more to accommodate. It's very kind and considerate for them. It's also knitted on a 4-ply yarn or that size
Mhm.
needle. So I like yarn that is finer. I don't really care for thicker yarn. Just
Yeah, it gives much more detail, doesn't it? I
it gets
think.
more detailed, but it's also I like the way that finer yarn drapes on the body. I
Mm.
don't like big chunky to look like you got big balls of bubble gum.
Yeah, I
But
totally get what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
each to their own. If somebody's happy with
Exactly.
it, wear it and own it and be fabulous, nothing less.
Yes.
So, hopefully.
But yeah. So when you're designing and it's all about the color, two questions really here. What's the color you love working with, and what's the color you refuse to work with?
You know, I can never say never because uh, it used to be that it used to be black and white. I because on yellow but then again when I say sorry to go out of the screen because then when I say yellow, how important is that yellow in this garment?
Oh, so
You know,
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, you
really
just need
important.
it because if you take that yellow away, it just becomes a totally different story. So, and yellow it has to have a certain consideration. All right, for my garden, I won't have yellow in the garden.
Okay.
No, because it's too aggressive.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at the yellow in the trees at the moment, and it's breathtaking. There are lots of
Mm.
shades of yellows, and lots of shades of
Yeah.
yellow can be beautiful. So, okay, no color. Every color can be used. It all depends on what you place it with. Now, so for instance, I'm looking at you in the camera, and I'm noticing in your right-hand corner there's a little yellow something, and
Yeah.
then next to it you have a little gold something, and then you
Mm.
have a green sweater. So I'm looking at that cut the relationship between those three elements. So as I've developed as an artist, it's every color can be used. It all depends on um, what you put it with. For instance, I came down to visit my mom and sister yesterday, and my mom was pointing out this beautiful arrangement of flowers that my sister bought for my mom. There was this huge chrysanthemum that was like a big cloud that was covering all these other shades of pink. It was hiding behind it. So my instinct was to go and bring all the pinks forward and push the yellow, the white slightly behind it, so it just became an accent for those. And it's just a natural thing. I'm kind of infuriating to be around because I'm constantly seeing the world visually, and so my eyes are also dancing and looking at pattern and color. I'm just hungry for it, and I believe that anybody can work with color. It just depends on finding your own voice. And so when someone says, "What colors don't you like?" or "What colors do you like?" Um, it's more about what do you put it with.
Mm.
I
No, that
remember
makes
I
sense.
remember a garment I did for Rowan. I can't remember the name of it, but I put a lot of uh, greys, baby blue, some hints of black, and a lot of white, and it was in stripes, and they were abstract stripes. But the way that it was styled in the magazine, they put it on this guy with a mohawk, and they put a checkered plaid tied around his waist, and he was kind of running over rocks, and they had big black makeup, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like they created a piece of theater out of this garment. So of course I loved it, it was, but it was kind of, it looked a bit like a seagull in a paper shredder, because it was all that shades of the shades of seagull in stripes. But yeah. What about you? Is there any color that you won't go near? I'd like to see you in hot red or deep red.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a color I don't think I really go for because I have
with
such red cheeks.
yeah,
I
with your,
just look really red.
bring out the coloring in your hair. But you see, a deep red is what I'm thinking.
Mm.
I couldn't see you in baby pink.
No, I wouldn't really
No,
go for
no.
pastels to wear. I love them as surrounding me, but yeah, not to wear.
Yeah.
I do like to just try anything. I think red is a color I do avoid. But when people have those associations, so I know at school we were all red. So I always think of it as like a school
Ah,
uniform kind of
oh, and
color.
now what shade of red was it? Was it deep red?
It was a true red. It was
Ah,
your primary color red, yeah. So that's what I always think of, like my PE top just being like a red sweatshirt.
yeah. Yeah.
So you have inspired somebody already. Amelia in the chat has said you've inspired her to try intarsia for the first time. Because people do find intarsia terrifying.
Oh, let me tell you, let intarsia become your friend.
I agree completely.
Honestly, now intarsia is, do you, Amelia, if you do Fair Isle or stranding, Fair Isle is basically one stitch of that Fair Isle technique, and you let the yarn hang. When you come back, it's there for you to pick up, and you do that twist, and on you can go with you. And you get more of a drape with the garment with intarsia. So intarsia is something, so many people are afraid of intarsia, but it is a case of you have to get used to using both hands. This hand throws the yarn, controls the tension. This hand, if you don't give it something to do, it'll fall off. So that is the hand that picks up the tail end or the yarns you're not using, up, down to toes, up to your nose, down to the toes, up to your nose. Job done. On you go. Yeah, am I right? Am I
You
right?
are right. It's so easy once you get to the flow of it. Obviously, there's some where you have multiple ends and it can be challenging and tangled. But once you sort of learn to
Yeah.
wind a bobbin or butterfly and you learn those twists, they don't tangle.
Yeah.
So easy. I think it's easier than Farrell and color work a lot of the
I
time.
do too, because feral, you have to count. And if
Yeah.
someone starts talking to you, you're buggered. So, sorry. Yeah. But no, yeah, in time, allow intelligence to come. I am not to try and promote myself or going online, but I actually, you know what? I think if you go on YouTube, put in my name, I think that's the only thing I'm doing on, I hope it's the only thing I'm doing on YouTube. You never know these days. But anyway, I'm giving a demonstration on there on doing intarsia.
Oh,
I did it for, I was going to do a television series with an American company, and that was one of the little sneak previews that they did. So I'm just showing people how to do the technique. So you can sit, yeah, you can have me in your bedroom at the bottom of your bed, and they can be doing the technique together. But I'm in your computer, not in
yeah.
person.
The perfect thing to practice this weekend for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? All those little swatches you do, if you do them, save them, save them, save them, save them. Then once you've got them enough together, you can see your progression. Then you can also sew them together as the most amazing little baby blanket. I
Yeah.
couldn't think of anything more beautiful as a personal gift for somebody, or for the dog basket if he was lucky enough.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that knitters are afraid of is just swatching for just swatching sake. People want like a finished thing at the end of it, whereas just knitting a square and just trying things is amazing.
Well, yeah. So going back to the swatching, and kind of I leaped on with one of your questions. Kate and I don't write patterns. We literally sit down with, we'll see an inspiration, like it can be a pattern on a stone wall or a series of tiles and so forth. And we've got the given yarn that we've collected from Rowan, because we primarily work for Rowan. And we'll take the colors that we want to work with, and depending on the quantity, the weight of the yarn, and the intensity of the color will determine how much we use of that in as we're knitting along to create the impression. So we don't actually sit down and graph anything out unless it's like really, really, really technically fancy, like a heraldic dog or a Polish Virgin structure, which are some of the patterns we've done, where it will help us just to have a little bit of a guideline. We literally just will sit down, and then once we've swatched, we'll pin it up and see how much we like and we don't like. And also, we pin up our work. We get into the habit of pinning up our work every 2 rows to see how much more we want of a color before we go on, and that gives us the scale and the level of how much we want for that color. And then that swatch goes up to Rowan with a line drawing or some kind of directions. Hopefully they can take from there. But yeah, that's our design secret, and that way it has its own life. It's not about there are some designers, and nothing to knock anybody or how brilliant they might be, they design on a computer. For me, you have to feel the color and the weight of the yarn, and that's our bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Deborah's asking, the jumper you're wearing right now, is that intarsia? I believe it is.
Would you like me to show you my backside?
Yep, that's
It's
always the sign that it's intarsia, isn't it?
well, it could have been feral, but you know what? You're using twice the amount of yarn using feral.
Yeah, thicker, denser fabric too. It
For
feels better.
those who don't know what's the difference. So feral is when you knit 2 colors across the row, and when you knit 10 rows of the purple, 10 rows of the green, you carry the purple at the back. You could either loop it or catch every other stitch, and then you swap the color. But if you do it, intarsia, just knit block, and and also it's lighter weight.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be very dense if you're doing that
Yeah.
in Aero.
And
Absolutely.
it's with that beautiful felted tweed, which are our favorite yarns, and the next will be the kid silk haze.
Yeah, so why are they your favorite yarns?
No. It's the texture, it's the weight of the yarn, and it's the colors. It's the colors now because of cave colors. The colors that Rowan had previously, they were fine, they were nice, but they weren't nice enough for us. Because when we're going to bake a cake, we want it to be a party cake.
Yeah.
And you need lots of ingredients. And so we want to add in a few more richer flavors just to kind of tickle it up, because there's nothing worse than a bland curry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'm not knocking Rowan for their colors back then, but and I'm not trying to sell Cave's color, but we just brought in that bit of lime and that bit of ginger.
The pop, yeah.
We brought the little tickle, and that tickle is very important. Isn't it, David McLeod? If you're listening,
He would definitely be agreeing if he's listening. Colette is asking in the chat a really interesting question. So she is saying, what would you say to your younger self and to young people who experience doing less well at school? What can we learn from that?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that question. I want to give you a big hug right now. Choose your favorite colors. Nothing less than 10 colors. That's already a big stretch when you got to think 10 colors. But it can be 2 shades of pink, 2 shades of yellow, 2 shades of, and then just start putting them together in any random way. They will find an organic kind of balance that you'll be able to relate to, whereas other people who are too blocked in, and then because you've already got a little bit of a free spirit, I imagine, to yourself. So just it's so much easier to create something with a lot and then you can edit down than to create something fabulous with only a few.
Yeah, just be
When
yourself.
when you're
Be
starting out,
cool.
yeah, and remember that thing that I said at the beginning: mistakes leave room for opportunity, and so all mistakes are leaving you room to just do something different, and where you'll find yourself. And as I say to those who are boxed in, and you're not boxed in because you're asking this question, you might as well step out. If you don't step out of your box, you might as well crawl in it and shut the lid. So you can
That's
be a
great.
Mike any day. Yeah.
So do you think if you were to ever, do you think since designing, so how long has it been since you've really been doing knitwear?
I don't even like to think my age.
Yeah. Well, in the
No,
general scheme of things, do you think you've changed a designer?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I would not be sitting in like this sweater 10 years
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
This now at the moment is exciting me. Will this excite me in 5 years' time? No, I'll be somewhere else. But also, when I'm designing, the interesting thing is when I'm designing fabric, it doesn't. When I see an inspiration, I will sit do the artwork there and then, and I'll go in the design drawer until my collection, when it's ready for me to submit a collection. When I submit a collection, it doesn't come into the market until 16 months later.
Yeah.
When I'm designing for Rowan, I design a collection. It doesn't come out till 8 months later in the
Yeah.
shops, and my taste level has changed and moved on.
Oh,
And
really? That quick?
it does, yeah, because I'm one I feed off travel,
Yeah.
and yeah, my taste changes all the time, and the fashions and seeing what's on the high street and so forth, and then there's new yarns coming out
Mm.
that we get to play with. So, and we have to feed that market. So, yeah, I am. I mean, one of the questions I suppose I haven't been asked, and my answer would have been if I'd been asked, have I got many mistakes? And
Mhm.
I haven't really, because I kind of make them into something, and I will get bored with something and I'll put it back out in the drawer, put it away in the drawer, and a couple of years later I'll pull it back out. Like this shirt I had made um, 12 years ago. I saw the fabric in Japan. I bought the fabric. I had somebody make me the shirt. And this is the first time I've worn it since 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, I mean, so I'm a chameleon. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just, I know I'm one of these people that will, but, um, but I'm not somebody that needs to change my house and change the decoration and all that every 5 minutes. But if you were to ask Kate, you'd be saying, don't, he's Imelda Marcos, don't ask him. And I'll say, don't ask Kate for a reference because he lies.
Yeah. So you mentioned fashion trends just previously then. So do you follow fashion trends? Does that change your
No,
fabric design?
no,
No.
no. I hate to say that, I hate to think that I'm being a big head, but I think Rowan and um, my fabrics create the trend
Mhm.
because we're breaking the molds. I think that we're providing something for people to aspire to. That's what I like to think, and I think that's what I like to think our role is with Rowan, is that people look at us and think, "Oh, I'd love to do that," and hopefully have a go one day.
Yeah.
Not just thinking, "Oh, I couldn't do that." We can all do it. I mean, our designs actually have the least amount of technical abilities to them, but it's the color and the pattern that does the work. And if you're following a graph and you put a piece of paper over your graph and go row by row by row, if you allow yourselves 2 rows a day, you'll get the front of that sweater down in 2 months. Yeah. Just think about it, and it's a lot of it is mind over matter. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've spoken about fabric quite a bit, but what is your take on sort of garment shapes and silhouettes? How important are they to you?
well, it's a sticky conversation. Um, because I love the art of drapery. I
Yes.
love a garment to. I don't like garment to be. I mean, yes, I like corsets, but who the hell can wear a corset on one leg? I mean, we designed for another knitwear company that does ready-to-wear garments in the US, and they photograph their garments on stick figures, and you're like, give me a break. You want the garment to have a little bit of, you don't want to be tight under here. You want a bit of air, and so yeah, that's my take. This is my that's my favorite shape. This. But
Yeah.
then somebody might say, well, how many stitches is that across the row? Well, I'm like, how long have you got to brush your hair? You know, if you want a bit of quality, or you can spend that time knitting a sock, and then you knit another sock and another sock and another sock, or you could spend all that time knitting 5 socks, knitting that beautiful white kimono that you're gonna get a lot of wear out of. And also, I don't really want a lot of detail. I like it. Shapes, I think, are it's very interesting to see an unusual shape that doesn't need to have a lot of. I quite like it to look quite architectural or bold, but then that's down to the weight of the yarn and how it sits on the body. So
Yeah.
that's my bag, and I love the neck that you're wearing. That beautiful big cowl neck.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, very
and
cozy.
it works wonders on the jawline.
Absolutely. And you want knitwear to be comfortable, don't you? You don't want too much structure or anything
No,
because it is
no,
cozy,
no.
it's comfortable.
Yeah,
And a nice fit.
it's so funny. We've just come back from a big tour of part of the world, and outdoors it is so hot you don't want to put on anything other than a bit of clothing, and you step inside, you want to put on fur knickers and a big coat because the air conditioning is so cold, and you're just like, I mean, it's incredible. Whereas over here in the UK, our houses are built differently. We don't have air conditioning, so we have brick walls and
Yeah.
double glazing. But it is interesting traveling different parts of the world where they have hotter climates, but they do knit because they're inside with frigid air conditioning.
Yeah, that's so true. I've never
Yeah,
really thought about it that way, but yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So where's the going back to fabrics and inspiration, what's the most unusual thing you've probably been inspired by? Do you find because you find it from walls, you find it from loads of different things?
I can be inspired by bubblegum on the tube station ground. Just that repetition of I've got a quite a well-known design called Jumble, and it's just a repetition of dots. But I've used a big fat paintbrush, and every dot has a slightly different personality to itself, although it's a repetition. And then the colours are very strong on that. And I was inspired by looking at bubblegum just on people have at their mouth, and it's on the tube station floor in London, and it looks like a spotted owl. It looks like a Dalmatian dog in reverse colours. But in our recent slide talk, one of a sweater I did for Rowan in stripes. I did wider denim blue and off cream stripes, and at the top it got narrower and narrower. It was a
Mhm.
design brief that we did, and my inspiration from that was a zebra's backside. You know, if it doesn't move fast enough, it's going to get used. I think a little bit of it's having a little bit of my glass is half full, and looking at the lighter side of life and a bit of humor that comes in with design too. I can't wait for my next design to come out in the Rowan magazine number 80, because that's
Yeah,
got a little bit of personality in that.
I think I've
I,
seen it. I was drawing the chart this morning for it.
oh,
It is
wait,
stunning. Yeah.
yeah, and I hope they're going to keep the colours I chose for it too.
Oh, we are, don't you worry.
Um, no, so it I look at a lot of antiques. I go to museums all the time, and I'm looking for repetition pattern. But more often than not, it's never given that it's a direct interpretation. It will be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it needs a bit of tweaking as I'm building the story. So it's never boom, if that makes sense. It's a building process. So when I sit down and do my artwork, again, it's done by hand, with the knitting. And the needle point of the knitting and the knitting, I sit down and I just stitch or knit. With the painting, I literally will draw out a basic outline to get the idea of, because it has to have a repeat or a half drop repeat, which is kind of technical terms. And then I'll start putting in the colors and building up a color story as I'm going along. I won't have a paint chip and say, well, my pink's going to go here, my blue's going to go there, reds and so forth. It really is, we're mixing the paints as we're going along. So I work independently, but I'm working alongside Keith.
Yeah.
So he might have done his colors, and I might look over, one eye might go over to looking at what he's been doing. So I kind of might work a little bit towards his, but I don't want them to look too samey. So when we put the collection together, there's a little bit of balance, but not so it looks like we've gone into a charity shop and we've pulled a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then allspice makes things nice.
And are you not enticed by any sort of textured stitch at all? Is it all just color work for you, do you think?
My thing with, for instance, cables, one stitch wrong and it looks like a pile of spit.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you do have to be quite a
yeah,
perfectionist when
yeah.
it comes to
I,
cables.
I, I'd take my hat off to Martin Story, but bless
Mhm.
his cotton socks. And then my thing with the color creates the. Let me just show you. Like for instance, I teach a workshop called Persian Poppy, and this is an example of the Persian Poppy.
It's amazing. Those colors are fantastic.
Um, and if you can imagine fancy stitches in there, it
Mm.
kind of like it's about skin disease.
Yeah, you'd lose
You,
that
you'd lose
pattern.
it.
Mm.
And so this is a 1 day class that I give. I'm going to be, if anybody wants to come to this workshop, I'm going to be giving one in Munich in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
So
wow, amazing.
come and join me there. Otherwise, keep an eye on my events page on brandonmably.com events page. I don't know, things happen. I never know. And one thing to the next. Maybe I'll do one for Rowan Connect. We'll see.
Yeah,
Could be.
absolutely. I think everyone would love that. Well, we've had
Sorry.
a Kerry's just replied saying yes. She'll definitely want you to do
I wish you could all see Carrie. She's got fabulous cherry red lipstick on. You just want to kiss it. It looks wonderful. It looks like one of those coconut buns with a cherry on the top. Because she's wearing
Yeah,
this one, this
yeah,
one,
the
that's
cable.
like this kid is coconut, and that cherry red looked like a little cherry on the top. I can hear her laughing in the background all the way to Edinburgh.
Well, we've had a lovely message from Evelyn just to say what a privilege to hear such a creative mind at work. I love your colour work, and Brandon is inspiring me even more. The new cave colours are stunning, so thank you, Brandon. So I'm going to leave it there and say thank you so much for joining us today. The last hour went so quick. We probably could talk for hours more. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been so fun to talk to you. It's been so insightful. And yeah, I've really enjoyed
Well,
it. It's been really inspiring.
thank you very much. Anytime. Thank you very much for asking me.
All right, well, we will leave you with the day, but yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you for everyone watching. So thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.